My name is Arana. I hate to come out somewhere and give you a dry lecture which puts you to sleep, and also I have a problem staying awake myself. So basically I tell it in a kind of story form as to how I got involved with the whole situation and where I am today and in between what has happened. Quite a bit has happened because I'm not as young as I look. I'm 63. One foot is in the grave, the other is in a banana skin. I have a very serious medical problem. Like when Anthony asked me when is the book going to be over, I said hopefully before I pass away in the next year. Initially when I had my open heart surgery and I had a heart attack after the surgery and everything else in 1998, I scheduled myself for about 2 years before I pass away. And then I found I went into the 3rd year and I was not dying, and into the 4th year and I was not dying, and into the 5th year, and then I said I give up. Okay, when he decides to take me away from this world of pain which I get up with every morning, I will in the meantime keep doing something and keep active. One of the ways I keep active is every Saturday morning I teach yoga through the oral tradition to students in the Queen's libraries, and that has been going on pretty well. And we recently had an international conference on Ayurveda, which is India's medicinal system, and on yoga and the antecedents of yoga, and it went off reasonably well. Most of my students are Chinese, and I appreciate the Chinese because they are very health conscious, and any form of exercise, even if you tell them 4 in the morning, they'll get up and they'll trudge out there to the park. During the summer we have classes in the botanical gardens in Queens because it is closer to nature, and that is where I believe yoga comes from. In the winter months we go and sulk inside the libraries and we practice there because it is warmer inside the libraries. So that's where we are at. Now when I was very young, and that's a long way back, I was brought up very funnily speaking English in India. We spoke English at home, we learnt in English, I taught in English, and the only way I learned Tamil, which is the mother tongue of the state from where I come, is because we spoke to the servants in Tamil. But then when I came to the US, this is the funny part of it, I made a lot of money from Tamil because I worked in the courts as an interpreter. And I was making good money, and I wrote to my father saying, hey, I'm living now on Tamil, which we used to speak to our servants at home. So it's very funny, and the English is not paying me very well. From high school, I was brought up a Catholic. And so Daddy was the old-fashioned type, and so every Saturday it was to confession. And then Sunday was communion, and there was only one God, and it was the true Christian God, blah, blah, blah. And then from there I went into high school, and from high school I went into the army. Now once I got into the army, then religion went into the background. Then there was no Daddy pushing us on Saturdays and Sundays. But on Sundays we used to ask for an outpass to go out, and I and another Sikh cadet, the Sardajis, the Sikhs, we used to go out to eat masala dosas on the guys that we were going to church. And that's the only way you could get out. You just can't, take your bike and get out except during cadet days. So 4 years of training, 5 years of service, and religion really went into the background. Then I came out and I became an investigator in Madras, in Chennai, where I will show you closer and closer as we go where we are at. And in Madras I opened my own investigation and security agency, so further away from religion but closer towards the martial arts. Now, unbeknown to most people, India has a martial arts system. It is called aaari-cuny. And like most martial arts systems, it says it is meant for defense. And the training is so hard that you really learn to defend yourself. But then what happens is, from aaari-cuny at that time, which I wanted to learn but didn't have the opportunity because out of about 1.2 billion people, there are only about 3,000 practitioners of the art form in India. Again, I will show you where it is on the map. But then what happened was there was a big noise suddenly because Bruce Lee came out. And then the other movie, 36 Chambers of Shaolin, so everybody wanted to be the next Bruce Lee, and nobody got ever involved in Kalari Pipe. I was one of them also. I went to classes in karate and I learned karate and I sweated like a dog. Thank God that time I was in physical condition, so I was able to deal with it. And we learned from karate, but during the study of karate, I also learned about an Indian Buddhist monk who they claimed was the father of the martial arts, called Bodhidharma. That was my first connection with Bodhidharma. But having been an investigator and journalist also, I said, and in journalism also teaches you 100 million times, check your facts. You cannot make any mistake, check your facts. And I said, if these guys are saying he's the father of the martial arts, and till recently the Chinese and the Japanese have been very protective of their own societies. So whatever martial arts they had came from them. But then to suddenly hear a Wushu teacher in Dengfeng County near the Shaolin Temple in China telling me, no, it came from India. And I was like, what the heck happened here? You know, this guy is acknowledging it came from India, there's something very wrong. And then Mas Oyama, the karate grandmaster, has even put it in writing in his books that it came from India. So I said, let's poke my nose into it and see what happened. And again I came back to Bodhidharma. And then finally, after years and years of off and on research, I found that Bodhidharma went from India to China in the 5th century AD. And he propagated Mahayana Buddhism, which later on slowly became a bifurcation of Mahayana Buddhism, leading to his own thoughts on how to attain enlightenment, which is very different from what the Buddha did. So I said, okay, let's study more. Again, the thing came back to mind, check your facts. So I started checking my facts and I found that this guy there was very little information available about him. And whatever information was there, many Westerners especially said he was a myth. Even Buddhist teachers, Buddhist nationalists of the American background said he was a myth. And I said, when he has been mentioned in historical records, how can he be a myth? So again, poked my nose when, thank God I had time for it, and started fiddling around. And I found that, frustrating as it is, I couldn't find one word about him from historical records in India. A lot of stories, but nothing I could base on fact. But then I found that he had gone to China, so I started liaising with the Chinese and the governments there. And initially this was good old days in the early 80s. They were not very excited about religion. So they kind of shoved me away. It exists, it doesn't exist, the books are not available, and drove me crazy. 1989 June, Tiananmen Square hit. 1989 August, I get a letter saying, you're welcome to come to Shaolin Temple and we will shut the temple down for you for half a day so that you can photograph it. So I said, this is either somebody has sneaked me a unauthentic letter, let me double check. So I called them and found that they had actually written the letter. And hats off to the tourist minister in the province of Henan, Henan, who really moved heaven and earth to make life for me as comfortable as possible. So I went there, they opened the